This game right here was nuts. Was absolutely nuts. And the biggest reason why it was nuts was because it is the way Seattle guarded Paige Bueckers. Like, if you saw the way LA guarded Paige, they were like, we are not going to let the Dallas Wings beat us. We are going to play drop coverage. We're not going to lose to the mid-range game, which is like, look, Lynn Roberts, a modern basketball coach. So Seattle ended up, like, they are a team that needs to win. And a lot of teams are going out with the tactic of, we don't really give a fuck if Paige Bueckers drops 30 on our head.
Paige Bueckers was supposed to be the next Caitlin Clark, but Seattle just gave the league the defensive blueprint that exposed her in real time. 2 field goals on 11 shots, 0 assists, and visible hesitation every time she faced pressure. This wasn't just a tough game, it was the moment that showed the hype machine had skipped a reality check. But here's the question. Does this game mark the end of the Paige Clark successor era, or the beginning of her toughest challenge yet?
She is of the same mindset as me, of we're not going to lose to a bunch of mid-range shooters. We're not going to lose. Like, if we lose to a bunch of mid-range shots, so be it. Like, I know Paige went 4 from 3, and that's because Paige shot shots she wasn't shooting otherwise at good, because Dallas Wings are going to get good at some stage in her career. This was the game where I'm like, okay, we can shut up the comparisons right now. Because she got blitzed, she got doubled, but this was the first time we saw Paige really get guarded. This is where we saw what is going to happen in year 2. This is the scout report that needs to be out there on Paige Bueckers once the Dallas win.
Before we move on, I'd like to ask you a small favor. If you appreciate this content, please take a second to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Over 98% of you watch the videos without subscribing. It costs you nothing, but it makes a huge difference to us. So did you click the subscribe button? Great, thank you so much. Now back to the video.
And do you want to know what she did as soon as she got blitzed in doubles? She passed. Paige Bueckers, like, look, she played decent amount early in the game. The game was kind of over and she got subbed out. 0 assists. 0 assists. I don't, like, that's mental. That's mental for a player that they were trying to say was better than Caitlin Clark. And Paige Bueckers shot 7 times. Paige shot the ball 7 times. She was minus 17 on the floor. She had 0 assists and 11 points.
So here's the thing. When a rookie comes into the league and scores 44 against the Sparks, people start talking. That single game created this bigger picture around Paige Bueckers, like she was instantly ready to carry the torch and take on the role that everyone's been linking to Caitlin Clark. Clips were flying around social media, highlight reels looked crazy, and for a second it felt like every movement she made on the court was feeding into this idea that there's already a next one. Fans see one night like that, and they don't just think, okay, she's good. They start projecting her as the face of the league.
And I'm not even going to say, oh yeah, you know, the points are everything. Points aren't everything at the end of the day. Assists aren't everything. Like, all of these individual stats aren't everything. It was just the fact that she literally, it makes things a lot easier to create when you've got that short roll. You've got that target in Aaliyah Boston who's going to come off the short roll and is going to be able to pass and is going to be able to set up everything. Like, that does change a lot. How many blitzes did the Indiana, or how many open shots did the Indiana Fever get off a Caitlin Clark blitz? And albeit, it's very different when you have a short roller in Aaliyah Boston.
Then the contrast hit when Seattle stepped on the floor. Instead of letting her run free and shoot until her arm got tired, they threw something entirely different at her, and that's the curiosity here. What happens when somebody who's been hyped as unstoppable finally gets a defense that treats her like a star? That was the moment. From the opening tip, it was obvious Seattle wasn't about to let her walk into rhythm shots. You could see 2 defenders hovering the second she touched the ball. You could see the floor shrink whenever she tried to create space.
Like, Maisha Hines-Allen doesn't pass nearly well enough. There's not that many short roll big targets with the IQ of an Aaliyah Boston. So this reminded me of the way they guarded Caitlin. So, for example, if you give, I'm just trying to think of a player that you can put in with Paige that will really go and give her that outlet, unless somehow they sign Alyssa Thomas over the summer, which they're not going to do.
And suddenly everything looked 10 times harder. Imagine her bringing it up, looking like she wants to run that high screen, but before she can even commit, there's a body stepping up on her hip and another waiting at the switch. The lanes she killed the sparks with just weren't there anymore. She'd pause at the top of the key like she was caught mid-decision, and those hesitations kept stacking up. Every time she thought about breaking down the defense, either the ball screen coverage locked her out or the weak side rotation rotated quick enough to shut it down. Over and over, she just ended up stuck, forced into awkward spots that took away everything that looked so electric 1 week ago. And the strategy wasn't complicated, it was discipline. Seattle never gave her time to breathe. They pushed her into the middle of crowded spaces, they chased her off the arc, and when she tried to get downhill, there was always help stepping up in the lane. Even rebounds got snatched away because they outbodied her. When a coach says the goal was to make her hesitant to use the ball screen, that's exactly what played out. The hesitation part was the killer because hesitation leads to bad shots, missed windows for passes, and ultimately it breaks rhythm before it even starts. Now check the numbers. Shooting 2 for 11 paints the picture right away. 0 assists shows she couldn't punish the traps by finding teammates, and only 2 rebounds just adds to how controlled she was across the whole floor. Those numbers scream out what the eye test already showed. Seattle built the perfect scheme to drag her out of her comfort zone. Nobody who watched her against LA would have imagined it could flip this fast. But that's the harsh truth of what happens when defenses lock in. And that's the real story here. Because it's not about one off night or one poor box score. This was a reveal. It was like a flyer being handed out to the whole league saying, here's how you make life miserable for her. Pressure up front, deny her the ball screen, and swarm her until the decisions pile on top of each other. Some games are hot and cold, but this was systematic. Seattle laid down a test run and the blueprint worked. The mini twist hiding in all of this is that until now, Bueckers hadn't really gotten the treatment that Clark deals with every single game. When you're the focal point of scouting reports, when entire defenses are structured around making you work for every single touch, that pressure is on repeat. Seattle just showed Paige what that feels like at the pro level. If you watched her body language, you could tell it wasn't just missed shots. It was second guessing. It was figuring out what tools to use when her first options get cut. And that's where the comparison comes in. Because if Paige struggled this much at her first taste of that kind of defensive attention, the question the league is asking now is obvious. How does Caitlin Clark handle that same kind of game plan when it's thrown at her night after night? That game proved something bigger than just a tough night for Paige. It ended the idea that there's an easy heir waiting to slide into Caitlin Clark's place. One explosive box score doesn't tell you if someone can actually carry the weight. You can get a wave of hype in a week, but defenses are built to expose the gaps. Clark already raised the standard by showing she can take that pressure and still deliver. Right now, Paige isn't at that level. And maybe the point is she doesn't need to be, because there is no other Caitlin Clark